All right, so while Olive Bean is pulling that up, we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll just tee up a little bit about the class. So welcome to the class. This is basically understanding your why. My name is Gus Gordy, so I'll be kind of leading / facilitating the topic for the next 25, 30 minutes, and then we'll do a little Q&A afterwards. So really the goal of this particular class is to, one, create some curiosity, right? To challenge you a little bit. And also we're gonna have some fun, we're gonna talk some trash, and hopefully we'll all grow and develop from this particular topic, and we may be able to share in some experiences from a personal development perspective. So I'll say a quick prayer, and then hopefully by then Olivina have it up, and then I'll cover the agenda, and then we'll get started. So Father, just thank you for bringing us together on tonight, Father. I ask that you wash away today's stresses and pressure and just the work day in general, Father. Allow us to have an open heart and an open mind, Father. Allow us to be challenged in a good way, Father, so that we can grow as individuals, we can grow collectively as a group as well, Father. So just thank you in the name of Jesus forever. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Are you able to pull it up, Olivine, or you still haven't received it? I think you're on mute. Are you guys able to see my desktop now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's do this. Okay. All right. So you should be seeing, if I'm correct, you should be seeing the importance of understanding your why, right? As the title slide. We're all good? Yeah. Okay, awesome. So the agenda, right? So understanding your why, here's going to be a couple of topics that we're going to cover. And the first one is going to be understanding your why and forgetting about your feelings, identifying your purpose, taking inventory, close the gap, processing / prioritize, affirmation, and then we're going to do some Q&A / resources, right? So just to level set so that we all understand exactly what we're referencing what I'm referencing when I say understanding your why, right? Basically, why equals purpose. Simple as that. There's no extra to it. Why equals purpose in this particular class based on this particular content. So what I have here is basically understanding your why, right? Understanding your why and forgetting about your feelings. So we have basically Jesus on the cross, right? So when we think about that, we're gonna play a little game, right? So when we think about, we hear every Easter, right? For the most part, we hear individual. That's kind of the sermon, right? Jesus died for us and so forth, right? So when you think about this, or you see this particular image, what comes to mind? You can share it via the chat, or you can just say it out loud, right? Doesn't matter. Either or, I'm open.
Sacrifice.
Okay.
Love.
Sacrifice. Love. Okay. One more, maybe. Okay. So we'll go with those two. So what if, right? We know that Jesus traveled the land, right? He was conducting miracles, right? He was laying hands on people. He was turning snakes to cane, water to wine, right? He was doing all of these different things, right? We always hear about him dying on the cross, right? Very rarely do we hear what he didn't do. So what if, right? Just just what if Jesus decided to pop off that cross, turn some water into wine, head to the mountaintop, and meditate, right? Get into his Zen space, right? How would we feel? What would today look like, right? It's just kind of rhetorical, but in Luke 4:18, I'm not going to read the scripture, but it talks about Jesus knowing his why, knowing his purpose. He knew his purpose. Even though he knew his purpose, there was still some roadblocks and some challenges. He had some concerns about that a little bit, right? Like, it was like, hey, like, whoa, right? I'm cool laying hands. I'm cool with the miracles, but, having to go to this cross, right? It's a little iffy there, right? But in Matthew 26:30, you actually can see and read in scripture where there were some concerns about the next step in the process, right? In regards to him fulfilling his why. So two things we want to look at is, one, we know that Jesus had a why, right? He had a purpose. Two, he disregarded his feelings and he pushed through to fulfill his purpose. So sometimes when we feel like we don't want to do something, right, we got to push through it in order to fulfill our why or our purpose in this particular situation. Also, if we go to scripture, Mark 8:11, someone tempted Jesus, right, to like, hey, you say you the man, right? Prove it, right? They basically, hey, prove it. Mm-hmm. He was asking him to prove to us you're who you say you are, but he didn't. So the parallel to that is sometimes when we feel like doing something, we shouldn't, because it may not necessarily align with our purpose. Sometimes when we don't feel like doing something, we should, because it aligns. And sometimes when we feel like doing it, we shouldn't, right? So it's just, those are going to be kind of the three bases or the three scripture that we're going to kind of use to proceed throughout this particular class. And it's going to ground everything that we talk about tonight. And so the next steps that we're going to be going through is, one, how do you discover your purpose, right? How do you flush that thing out? What does it look like? And how do you take an inventory of your life and really say, hey, I have all this stuff going on. I have all these people around me. However, none of them or it aligns with my purpose, right? So we're going to be taking some inventory. So the next step in the process is basically identifying your purpose, right? When we start talking about identifying your purpose, this is not just for you as an individual, but from a family perspective, what's your purpose, right? What's that purpose statement that you're utilizing to kind of drive your behavior, drive your family interactions, right? Your day-to-day, what you're investing in, right? So what are you using to navigate your life as it relates to just your purpose? Also, when you understand your purpose, and there's a great book out called it's called Man's Search for Meaning. So when you understand your purpose, it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to set kind of the benchmark, right, that allows you to engage or not engage in certain activities. But also when you run into those trying times, you're going to learn to appreciate those small wins, right? I think Pastor Bill referred to them as the blade, right? When you're in your purpose, like every little increment, every little win that you get is like a major win, because to you, you're moving closer to your purpose, where some other individuals may be like, that guy's crazy. Like, he's been getting beat up for the last 12 years or 10 years or whatever the case may be. But those, when you know your purpose, you can basically highlight those small wins. So one, what are we going to do to identify our purpose, right? So we're going to spend some time just thinking and praying about your purpose, right? So for you, it may be 2 days, 3 days, a week. You as individuals, you set that time frame. But I say that please put a parameter around it so you're not just, there's no end date, right? Just spend some quiet time thinking about it, praying about it, right? Like just seeking God to help identify your purpose, right? And then next step is going to be write out what you think your purpose is. What do you think you heard from God, right? Like if you say, well, hey, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if I heard from God. I don't know if it's the tacos I ate the other night, but write it out. That's going to be your purpose, right? Put it, as Pastor Ross say, put it in pencil. And once you write it out, formulate it to create your purpose statement, right? Your purpose statement is going to be your new kind of mission statement, your new vision statement, almost in essence, right? You're going to use this to say yay or nay to whatever comes your way, right? Meaning, if there's, and I'm putting a kind of caveat to this, right? I'm not telling you to rule out anyone or anything, but when you're starting to entertain opportunities, when you're starting to entertain individuals, whatever the case may be, now it gives you a quick benchmark to say, hey, does this align with my purpose, right? You may be out the gate say, yes, it does. And you may say, well, hey, it doesn't. And not telling you not to do it, but at least spend some time exploring the opportunity, right? At least spend some time exploring, hey, how does this fit? It may or may not fit. With your entire purpose statement, but it at least allows you the opportunity to further investigate, right? And then from a biblical perspective, I think it was the Israelites. You know, they kind of wandered around the desert for basically 40 years, just kind of randomly roaming around, right? That's some individuals say, hey, it was more of changing their mindset. It could also be a sense of, hey, you don't truly know your purpose, because if you don't know your purpose, the first time some troubled water hit, you basically retreat back to old behaviors. So this allows you to kind of say, hey, let me push forward. Let me move forward a little bit. All right. Any questions on that part at all? Does it make sense? Kind of, sort of, maybe?
Makes a lot of sense to me.
All right. Awesome.
Yes, it makes sense.
All right. So the next part is taking inventory, right? You have your purpose statement. You know, hey, these are my marching orders. Here's my blueprint. This is what I'm working with, right? This is what I'm marching towards. So we want to make sure that, hey, let's start taking some inventory. Spend a week or a week, list out everything that you're involved in, right? Maybe a long list, maybe a short list, depending on who you are, right? And that, when I say list it out, meaning, hey, you got your big bricks or your big rocks, as you want to call it, right? It's work, family, school, whatever it is, right? Just list it out. At this particular point, we just want to get it all on paper, right? Once we get that listed out, the next part is going to become prioritize the list based on importance. And at this particular point, what's important to you, right? Is, hey, I got my family, I got my kids, I got soccer practice or little league coaching, whatever it is, let's just prioritize it, right, in a list of importance. Once you get that list, just take a step back and say, hey, now how does this list align with my purpose statement? How I'm spending my day, how I'm giving out my time, how I'm utilizing my time, does it align with my purpose statement? Are you getting the most bang for your time, basically, right, what we're doing? And for the things that you know off the rip that may not necessarily align directly with your purpose statement, at this particular point, just put a question mark by it. Well, why the question mark, right? Because at this particular point, you may or may not be 100% sure that your purpose statement is technically in sync with where is refined, right? To the point where you know, hey, I heard from God. I know this is my purpose. This is where I'm going. This is where I'm headed. So until you have, I'm not going to say 100% confidence, but until you're absolutely confident that that's kind of where you're headed, just put a question mark by it. And I'm going to go back to your purpose statement just a little bit. Push there just a little bit. If your purpose statement begins and ends with you, I'm going to ask you to kind of meditate on that just a little bit more, right? If your purpose statement begins and ends with you, then let's push there, right? Because your purpose statement and your purpose should be tied to a legacy that's expanding, increasing individuals outside of yourself. If I pull you out of the mix, or 20 years from now, or 30 years from now, someone should be able to look at an individual or a thing or a building or a business or whatever it is and draw a correlation back to you and your purpose.
That's good.
Awesome. So I'm going to quick pause. Any questions? Any
have
pushback?
Do you have examples of purpose statements, or is that something you're going to touch on later on?
I can give you, let's see, my purpose is to, let's see here, a quick one would be like my purpose statement could be, my life purpose is to add value to the lives of others, which start with achieving everything God has for me, right? In my own life, so that I can do or learn something, right? To pay it forward to someone else, right? So, and I can share some other examples with you as well, just so you have an idea of what it looks like, right? We're not looking to make it complicated. We want to keep it simple, 2-3 sentences, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to recite that off the top.
Okay.
Right? You want to be able to recite it off the top. And I'm going to kind of bounce back and forth a little bit, right? In regards to your purpose statement, when you start looking at, when you talk to kids in college, and you be like, or let me take it back a little bit. When you hear interviews say, oh, I went to the school for chemistry. Well, why did you go for chemistry? I don't know. It was just, my friend thought it was cool, and I went because my friend had this particular class, right? So if you have teenagers, this should be something that you be practicing with the family, right? Especially teenagers, right? Early on, just helping them to start to explore kind of what's their purpose, right? And so by the time they get to college, they are selecting degrees that semi-aligns with their purpose versus just kind of following the crowd or saying, hey, it was an easy class. I knew I was supposed to go to school, so I went to school. I didn't want to put a lot of effort in it. Bam, I'm done, right? So it's kind of FYI there.
Okay.
All right, so we've taken our inventory. We have our purpose statement. We've taken our inventory. We know what's taking up our time, good or bad, right? And we know from that particular part, right? Like, so the next is we're about to bridge the gap. What do you mean we're about to bridge the gap? So you know where you're headed from a purpose, right? You have your purpose statement. So at this particular point, you may or may not necessarily have the skills or talent or resources to fulfill your purpose statement. And depending on your purpose statement and your purpose, it could be large or small. So, and you may have multiple. So I would say take your top 2 or top 3, right? Your personal preference there. And once you get your top 2 priorities, let's identify the skills, talent, and resources needed to accomplish those particular goals, right? What is it going to take for you to execute on accomplishing or living out or fulfilling your purpose and your purpose statement, right? Hey, this is everything that I need, right? From money to talent to whatever. Here's the list. And then just pop over on the other side and do a quick assessment of your current skills, talent, and resources, right? And see where you need to spend your energy bridging those particular gaps, because you may not necessarily need to do everything from A to Z or from 1 to 10, right? It may be, hey, here's a couple of skills that I need to hone in on. Here's a couple of talents. Here are a couple of resources. Here's a couple of individuals that I need to build relationships with. Here's a couple of organizations I need to build relationships with, right? And now you can start to build those particular gaps. How do you bridge those gaps? Hey, whatever it, if you need to read books, mentors, working, volunteer organizations, whatever it is you need, right, to build that particular gap, figure it out, right? When I say, I mean, it could cost some money, it may not, right? It may just be a matter of tapping into your current resources to see how can you leverage those to get you to where you need to be, or to get you to a point where, hey, you're feeling comfortable in this particular area. All right. Any questions on that part, on building or bridging your gap?
So the thought is that a purpose can change over time. Is that your thinking?
Absolutely, right. Your purpose based on your life, based on you continue to seek God's face or presence, it may change. God may pivot your purpose at some particular point in your life, right? So, but as long as you have that roadmap saying, hey, this is where I'm going, and you're staying open to making the necessary pivots, when you hear from God, then you got to move, right? When he tells you to move, you got to move, right? So what I will say is, I don't know if your purpose changes every week, every 2 weeks, right? Where it's like, okay, this week God called me to go to India, right? Next week, you know, you're building a rocket or something, right? Like he wants you to become, you know, I'm not saying that he can't or he won't. I'm just saying that if your purpose is changing every week, I think that may be a lack of purpose, right? Because I think you're kind of flowing with your feelings, flowing with emotions. Hey, what feels good right now? What's hot right now? So it definitely can change. I don't know if it changes every week or week from week or month from month, right? So I will challenge you to seek God present as it relates to that.
Someone is asking a question. Someone's asking a question, is your purpose something developed, or is it based on gifts and talents?
It could be, right? So, okay, so a good question, right? So it could be something that's developed with you seeking God's presence, and your gifts and talents may actually align there. In regards to that, right? There may be some overlap in the sense of, hey, my gifts is serving. My purpose may be tied to some form or fashion of serving people, right? Or prophecy or mission, or whatever your spiritual gift may be. It may align to some degree. It may overlap to some degree. But it may not necessarily be driven 100% based off of your spiritual gift, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you have another question in the chat box. I just lost it though.
Yeah, I see it.
For a comment,
Okay,
I just wrote, is it possible that our gifts and talents are in service to the fulfillment of our purpose? Because he wouldn't give us those gifts and talents just not to be in alignment to our purpose or in service to us realizing our purpose. So just a wondering.
No. So I agree with that, right? Like your spiritual gift is going to aid in you fulfilling your particular purpose, right? So, but on the flip side of that, you fulfilling your maximal purpose. So when you go back and you look at your gifts, right? And we've all taken all these different gifts assessments and talent assessments, right? Like you rank high in some and you rank low in others. So in order for you to fulfill your full potential / purpose, right, there's going to be some development that's going to have to take place because you may be low in something, right, that you're going to have to build up in order for you to carry out. And in some cases, right, because you hear, especially from a corporate perspective, you hear some individuals say, hey, don't worry about the areas that you're weak in. You hire individuals to fulfill those particular gaps, which is great for corporate, right, in a sense, but you also want to understand that how your gifts and talent play into that particular mix so that you are able to allocate and shift and move and play in your sweet spot. Did that answer your question, Olivine? Sort of, kind of, maybe?
It does, thank you.
Process and prioritizing, right? So you kind of know at this particular point, right? You know your gaps, you know the inventory, and you've taken an inventory, right, of kind of where you are, right? You understand kind of your purpose. You understand your purpose statement. You know what you need to do in order to move that forward. So based off of that, hey, what's your weekly goal? You identify kind of weekly goals or goals, and then set aside some time in a place to kind of focus on this, right? I would say in the morning versus in the afternoon, right? So if two parts, the reason why I say that, right? Because now you're able to give a specific amount of time, fresh, right? You're coming, hopefully you had a good night's sleep, right? You're fresh. You don't have all of the day that's on you, right? From traffic to 45 Zoom meetings to 30,000 emails that you're trying to respond to, all of those particular things that have been weighing on you throughout today. So if you start your day with, hey, here's my purpose, I'm going to devote 35, 40 minutes or an hour to my particular purpose, right? Like whatever that may look like, because you're going to create a routine / process there. And if you talk to most, I'm not going to say any, if you talk to most successful individuals that have excelled in some type of leadership capacity, they're going to say a couple things, right? Hey, I control the first hour of my day and I control the last hour of my day, right? And you're probably going to hear them say, I don't touch my cell phone until I'm an hour or an hour and a half into my day, right? And what drives that, right? Definitely from a cell phone perspective, studies have shown that most individuals, as soon as they wake up in the morning, within 10 to 15 minutes, they're on their cell phone checking out social media, news, whatever it is, and it's creating this reactionary mindset or this response mindset right out of the gate. So most individuals say, hey, I control the first hour and the last hour of my day. And then basically you're going to measure your progress weekly, right? And this is going to help you benchmark and keep track of where you are. Hey, these are the areas that I need to focus on. These are the areas that I fell off in. Basically, it's your guide. You may need to do some pivots here and there to catch up, but at least you're building a routine. And when I say a routine, hey, if you get up in the morning and if you, hey, I spend quiet time with God for 15 minutes. I pray for 30 minutes. I read the Bible for 5 or 10 minutes. Build all of that into your morning routine, right? Hey, here's my time that I'm going to spend with God. Here's the time that I'm working to close the gap in order to fulfill my purpose. If the two overlap, great, right? If not, then you segment it out to know that, hey, I'm isolating the actual time. And if your day starts at 8 today, hey, if you can squeeze out, let me do 7 or 7:30 before the family, everyone's up, moving around, right? It just allows you to flow into your day. I'm telling you, it really, you can feel the difference. And I'll say this, so kind of negative here in a sense. I would say that I'm not necessarily a morning person, right? Like that's not necessarily my thing. However, when I can get up at 5:30, 5 and get into my routine, I feel 100 times better than when I basically say, you know what, I'm gonna hit this snooze button today and I'm gonna sleep until 7 o'clock. I'm gonna jump up at 7, shower, get dressed, run out the door, go to work, right? And one, I feel sluggish throughout the day and I don't feel as accomplished. So creating that routine, allowing yourself to kind of roll into your day, I'm telling you, it makes a difference, right? Even if you have to say, well, hey, you know what, I don't know if I can do an hour, but I can definitely do, 30 minutes. I can definitely do 30 minutes. And I don't know, have any of you guys been following kind of the Last Dance doc with Michael Jordan? But I was reading an article, I think it was today. I think Nick Saban kind of posted it, and he was kind of drawing some parallels, right, between Michael Jordan and the Alabama football program. But as he was drawing those parallels, he gave a quote from Kobe. And basically, Kobe said that you have to edit your life/behavior to accomplish your goal, right? And the reason why most people don't get to that next level is because they don't want to necessarily edit/change their behavior because they're in that comfort zone, right? You're comfortable. Right? I'm comfortable getting up at this particular time, or it's uncomfortable to have to get up an additional hour earlier or hour and a half earlier, right? Because it just is, right? Whatever it is, you gotta be willing to change/edit in order to fulfill your particular purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions there? Affirmations. So if I ask, you know, what does affirmation means to you, right? Someone willing to share? What comes to mind when I say affirmations?
Something that would help to change the negative aspect that you have about the direction that you're going, to make it a positive thing.
Okay.
Like a statement, for instance.
Okay. Anyone else?
Positive self-talk.
Okay. Anyone else?
A positive reason to affirm yourself, because sometimes you have to regroup and understand that the person that you look in the mirror to, you need to help them to grow. And so you have to give them positive affirmations or positive thoughts in order to create whatever your purpose is.
All right. Awesome. Anyone else want to share one more?
I say decreeing, declaring, putting in the atmosphere so what you can see things that may not be currently available in the here and now.
Okay. Awesome. So all of those are awesome, right? So as you are heading out on your journey, right, as relates to fulfilling your purpose, sometimes you just got to be willing to give yourself some kudos, affirm yourself that you're the best, that you're I am, right? Whatever it is, right? You need to be able to give those and control that. What do I mean by control, right? Sometimes when we're walking in purpose, right, it may not necessarily always look pretty. It may not always be smooth, but sometimes you just need to hear that, hey, you know what? Keep going, keep pushing, right? You got this. You're the best CEO. You're the best mom or dad or business owner or volunteer, whatever it is that's driving your purpose. Like being able to give yourself those affirmations in the morning, right? You take your win in the morning. So when you go out into the world, you are already built up, right? You're already riding some momentum. Because if you're waiting on someone else to give you those, they might give you your affirmations out of a place of, one, insecurity, two, based off of where they are, which means they may not necessarily even give you an affirmation, right? It may come in a negative form. So just being able to give yourself those affirmations, right? In some of the books that you may read, you hear people talking about, hey, before you go out the door in the morning, make your bed. What's the big deal about making the bed? That gives you a small win directly in the morning that allows you to leverage that throughout the day, right? I think there was either LeBron or Kevin Hart that was doing an interview, and one of them said that, hey, I bought a small basketball goal and I put it in my garage. So before I get in my car, I make a couple moves and I slam dunk it every day. So you're creating that mental picture of, hey, I've already got my win. If you give me a kudos or if there's an affirmation somewhere, great. If not, great as well. I'm cool regardless, right? Like my day is going to continue to flow. My day is going to continue to move. I'm going to have confidence in myself that I can execute on whatever task that's put before me, right? And sometimes that could come across as being, how can I say it, arrogant or cocky, whatever the case may be. But you hold on to that part of it, right? Now, we don't want to be narcissistic or anything, right? But you're controlling, you're not giving control of that to someone else, right? Like, oh, if my boss told me I did a good job on this project, then I did. If they don't tell me, now you're all bombed out, right? That's the same thing with social media, with likes and not likes, right? Oh, I posted a picture in my best outfit. I only got 2 likes. Oh, well, right? So now your day is crushed because you only got 2 likes. You're waiting for someone else to kind of affirm that. So just kind of build yourself up in the morning before you kick your day off. If it's theme music, whatever it is, right? Whatever gets you rocking in the morning, I'm open for it. What's the thing? What floats your boat, right? In this sense, right? All right. Any questions? I saw one pop in the chat. Okay, awesome. Questions? Nothing? Okay. So a couple of things, right? A couple of takeaways from this. One is just understanding your purpose statement, right? What's driving you? And then also from the scriptures that we talked about earlier, you can't go off of feelings, right? Like if we go off of feelings, or if Jesus went off of feelings, right? When it was time for him to go to the cross, he would have been like, hey, I'm out of here. I'm cool laying hands. Hey, I'm cool turning water to wine. I'm cool performing miracles. Hey, I'm cool in the countryside, speaking the word and letting them know of the coming, right? Like I'm cool with all of that. But I'm not feeling this cross thing, right? Just so you can't 100% go on on feelings of not feeling, or of, hey, you get overzealous and be like, I can do that. You see someone else that may be in their purpose, and you're like, hey, that person is doing really well in this particular segment. I'm going to jump over here. Or whatever trend is coming down the pipeline, now you're jumping from being an investor to a home builder to whatever, right? Or whatever it is, you're just bouncing around. So you have to have the discipline to say, hey, that's not within my wheelhouse. That's not my purpose at this particular moment. And be able to walk away from that, right? And at the end of the day, to fulfill purpose, fulfill legacy, right? When you see individuals that you may admire, that you say, hey, I know that purpose, that guy or that young lady is walking within their purpose, right? You have to also understand and count the cost behind that, right? There's some costs and that's associated with living out your purpose. And when you're in purpose, you're willing to count the cost and deal with that, right? And one of the great things also from Man's Search for Meaning, like this guy is the author is Viktor Frankl, and he's a psychologist, and he's in a Nazi concentration camp, right? And he talks about living in the moment and being in the moment, right? His previous life, he was a psychologist, he was a doctor, he was doing well, but right now he's in jail. So he talks about living in the moment and living in the present of where you are, but not settling, but understanding that your purpose is bigger than this particular moment. So in his book, he would basically look at all the prisoners in there, right? He's just being a psychologist, right? He's just observing behaviors and, hey, how did one person make it through where another person, hey, jumped in a ditch, right? Like, what's driving individual? We're all in the same environment. Why are some individuals more happier than others, right? And he basically summed it down to purpose, right? And when you're in your purpose and you're living in the moment, it allows you to see past your current situation, right? And one of the examples that he gave is, hey, they would move them from camp to camp, right? From camp A to camp B. And if you went to a camp with a smokestack, that was the end of the ride for you, right? That was basically, if you went to a camp with a smokestack, that's basically you're done, right? So in the book, he was talking about, hey, being in the present, and the fact that if he ended up with a camp, ended up at a camp without a smokestack, he appreciated that small win, right? Just said, hey, you know what? I'm in purpose. I know what's coming after this. I'm going to appreciate the blade. I'm going to appreciate this small win on my journey to fulfilling my purpose, right? And when you're in purpose, like those small things, you begin to appreciate, right? It doesn't necessarily always have to be a home run. You don't necessarily have to always close the biggest deal, right? You don't necessarily have to land a prestigious job, right? It's those small wins that you learn to appreciate actually on your journey to fulfilling your particular purpose. The Miracle Morning, that's just a small book that is easy read to help you outline a routine in the morning. That's really it. You could probably Google The Miracle Morning and the author, and you probably would get the format directly online, right? That's all it is, right? Hey, if you have problem with organizing / structuring your day / morning, or creating some type of routine, an awesome read that breaks it down from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes to 20 minutes, right? It allows you to basically outline your morning. And then the next one is grit. Basically, I grew up in the country, so hey, how much dog you got in your fight, right? What's your grit level? Are you willing to grind it out when things get tough? Or do you change direction and do something else? And in that read, it allows you to even do a grit assessment. It allows you to do a grit assessment and gives you some recommendation on how do you improve. Did an awesome study with, what is it called? One of the prestigious military academies, right? So they were just looking at what's the difference between individuals that complete the academy versus individuals that drop out of the academy. Because once you're accepted, right, into the academy, basically you're saying that, hey, you're smart, you're intelligent, right? You have a high IQ, you won some awards throughout high school, you come well recommended, right? You come with all the credentials, but what happened? Why aren't you able to complete and execute on the full mission of living out the academy, right? So couple of good, like I say, good resources that you can reference back as relates to just this topic in general, and being able to create your purpose statement and live out your purpose, right, that provides some fulfillment on the journey. All right, any other questions or any questions that you may have? Okay, I always take silence as a no. I hope that this helped in some form or fashion, or at least it created or planted a seed that you can, share with someone else, even if it doesn't necessarily apply to you and your situation at this particular moment. And I'm always here for any questions, or if you want to bounce some stuff off, I'm always around. So I'm more than willing to help out and share in your journey. And with that being said, I guess I'll give you 6 minutes back into your evening.
Let me
Thanks,
get back into my
Gus.
purpose. Let me get back into my purpose.
Get back into your purpose, man. Hey,
Are you going to send out
you
the
guys-
slides?
Yeah, you're
I
gonna
will,
send some.
yes, I can get those sent out to you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good session, guys.
Awesome.
That was good, Gus.
Great time.
Fantastic, Gus. Good job, man.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Be blessed.